Hey guys, how you doing? It is Kevin.
Kevin! Where's Kevin? Kevin.
Kevin.
K-E-V.
Thank you so much for coming back. And today we're going to be talking about web design. Now, in particular, we're going to be talking about how much web design costs. Now, there's definitely not a cookie cutter answer for this. So if that's what you came for, I really do apologize. There is no set kind of way to deal with this because there's a few different variables that are going to affect the pricing of the website. We're talking about things like the type of website it is, as well as the features and functionalities of that website, who is going to build it and who is going to manage it. Now, if you're building a website, the basics, some things that like, regardless of any of the stuff I just mentioned, you're going to need you're going to need to buy a domain, you're going to need hosting, and you're going to need ongoing maintenance. You're going to need to do updates and things like that. And you want to be clear going in, like who's going to handle all of that for you so that you can understand, what expenses come with that. Now, another thing that's going to be huge is who's writing the content and finding the images. If you have, whether they're professional or not, but images of, related to your business that you want up on the site, as well as written content, it's going to save you a significant amount of money if you come to the table with that, as opposed to needing the web designer to find those things. Because otherwise they have to use stock images and stuff like that, which can be really good, but they're not going to be as powerful as something directly related to the business that usually like has you in it or shows you kind of doing whatever the service or shows you, or it doesn't have to be you all the time, but like using the product or whatever, that kind of thing. If you come to the table with that stuff, it is going to save you a lot of money. Now, there's definitely the done for you kind of version, stuff like your Wix, your Weebly's, your Squarespace, that kind of thing. And you can really end up with a good looking website that way, but there's limitations to how much you can edit and optimize those kinds of websites. So if you're going into this knowing that you're going to be putting some marketing energy behind it, I would kind of recommend you go more with something like a WordPress that's going to give you that capability to optimize your web pages for relevant key terms and really get as fine-tuned as possible to get you as much visitors and let Google index those pages and be able to tell people, when they're doing their searches, exactly what your website is about and the answers to the problems that it's going to solve. I just said a whole lot. Basically, the way a search engine works is search engines provide the answers for people who are doing the search. They direct them to, the answer to the problem that they're trying to solve. And your job as the content creator or the owner of the website is to be the place where those answers live. Okay, so that's why people write blogs. That's why people optimize their websites. So if I'm looking for tips on fishing and your website is properly indexed and everything like that, Google knows that this is where I'm going to find the tips for fishing or whatever the situation is. But with with the done for you options, it's not always as easy to optimize and make that really clear to the search engines, because search engines don't have these bad boys. They don't have eyes, so they can't tell what your pictures are and all that kind of stuff. So that's why your optimization is huge. And when I say huge, I mean huge. It's the difference between a good amount of traffic that turns into real business and inquiries and just having a pretty site that sits there and does nothing. So I definitely want you guys to consider those things. But the done for you options can be significantly cheaper. It's almost like paying for some kind of subscription. It's usually less than $100 a month to maintain all of that. But again, you have to get your hands dirty, do the design yourself, and you have to be really aware of where your traffic's going to be coming from and make sure that your website is still going to serve that purpose. Now, I digress back to kind of the main way people do things, which is usually hiring a freelancer or an agency to handle the project for them. And both have their benefits. Typically, a freelancer sometimes is cheaper, but the benefit of an agency, even though at times it can cost a little bit more, is you're getting a collective of people, kind of like a mastermind, who all usually have expertise in different areas of, web design or marketing, and they're kind of all coming together on your project to give you the best possible result. Now, there are four basic types of websites. You have your small business and informational sites. You have your corporate sites. you have your e-commerce sites, and you have your database sites. So database is kind of like your Kijijis and Auto Trader, that kind of thing. E-commerce is like the whole purpose of the site is you list your products and you're selling stuff. The corporates are they're usually not as pretty, but they've got like a million pages and all that kind of stuff, really getting into detail about what the company does and da. Those get fairly expensive as well. And then most people have an information or a small business type of website. So that's the one we're going to kind of be focusing on because that's the one I know the most about. Okay, so if you need a small business or informational website, you're usually going to be playing, regardless of whether you go with a freelancer or an agency, you're going to be playing in the ballpark of somewhere around 2,000 to honestly upwards of about 10,000, but typically somewhere between 2 and 5. So for a lot of people, that sounds like a huge investment because you kind of have to come up with most of it up front, or not necessarily like all at once up front, but let's say within 30 to 60 days from, hiring someone and starting to the website being done and delivered. Most builds take somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks. You always run into some issues when you're building a website. That's why you kind of give yourself a little bit of time to work out those kinks as part of the process. But depending on who you're working with, maybe you're the only project they're working on, so they can get it back to you in a week or something like that. It really just depends. Now, you're going to want to vet your freelancer if you're going that route. Just make sure that they have the skills. They're able to not only just deliver a good looking website, but structure it properly so that, as you move forward and want to market it, you have everything taken care of. I more so recommend an agency just because, again, that depth of knowledge, and you're going to get a collaborative effort. Like for instance, if you're hiring a freelancer and you know that you plan to put some marketing dollars into your website, they need to know that you have to have a terms of conditions and a privacy policy page on your website, usually linked in the footer, or your advertising is going to cost you more than someone who does have that stuff on a website. So that's just one area where it helps to have a team working on things, because you're going to have multiple eyes, more people to catch any minor mistakes or anything like that, and make sure that everything is going to be exactly the way you need it to kind of push the business forward. Now, in terms of paying for the website, everybody has different agreements and models, and you can negotiate. Even with agencies, you can kind of negotiate a little bit depending on what your needs are. But typically there is the 50% upfront, and then 25% when the mock-ups are approved, and then 25% after the website is fully launched. But we have something I kind of like to call it the Yellow Pages model, because essentially what we do is listen to what you need and build you exactly what you need, but we offer it at a much lower threshold in terms of the cost. We start as low as anywhere from like $150 to $250 a month, and you get that beautiful 5 to 10 page website that has your social media integrated, beautiful call to actions, has a booking system integrated, and it kind of just delivers on the things you actually needed to, drives home your call to action in terms of what you want people to do once they're visiting the website, but still leaves those areas for the optimization and those analytics so that you can look back in a month and say, okay, this is how much traffic I got, these are the pages they went to, and have someone kind of understanding all of that to help you decide what changes or tweaks need to be made to help you reach your end goal. But like I said, regardless of whether or not you're looking for the upfront approach, or you need something that's a little bit more cost effective and you're willing to just absorb the cost as a monthly expense of doing business, we can definitely help you with that. I really hope that this answers some questions for you, shed some light on things you need to consider when you're trying to figure out how much your website is actually going to cost you. And I'll be back, guys. So let me know what kind of videos you guys want, or what kind of questions you guys have about marketing and web design, and I'll do my absolute best to give you that sauce and get you everything you need. Have a wonderful day, guys. My name is Kevin.
Kevin.
I'll be back.
Kevin. Where's Kevin? Kevin. K-E-V.